Welcome back to the Grey Havens Hour. In the last episode, a son stood where his father fell, and in a moment that would echo through the ages, he took up something he did not yet understand. The ring was cut, the victory was won, and yet the story did not resolve, because what had been passed down was not only triumph, but burden. Today, we turn to what followed, not in the rise of a king, but in the long endurance of a people. Time moves quietly in Tolkien's world, and as it moves, it carries memory with it, but not always intact. What was once immediate becomes distant, and what was once certain becomes something spoken of in fragments, until even great kingdoms begin to feel like echoes rather than realities. In the north, the realm that Elendil had founded did not fall in a single moment, as Númenor had beneath the sea, but slowly, through years that stretched into generations, as strength thinned and unity began to give way. The land remained, but the kingdom did not. What had once been Arnor was divided into smaller realms, Arthedain, Cardolan, and Rhudaur, each holding something of the old order, but none strong enough to preserve it whole. And as division deepened, it did not merely weaken them, it opened the way for something else to enter. From the north came a shadow, not with the sudden violence of conquest, but with patience, pressure, and design. The realm of Angmar rose under the Witch-king, a servant of the same darkness that had once been struck down. And the wars that followed did not break the kingdom all at once, but wore it down piece by piece. Fortresses fell, alliances failed, and what remained of the old strength diminished until at last the final remnant, Arthedain, was overcome, and with it the last visible kingship of the North came to an end. Tolkien records it simply, almost without emphasis, as though the fading itself were the meaning. The North Kingdom was broken, and its line of kings came to an end, and yet it did not end. Because what disappears from history is not always what disappears from the world. When the crown was lost, the people were not. The Dunedain did not vanish with their kingdom. Instead, they withdrew, not in surrender, but in preservation, carrying with them what could not be rebuilt in stone. If you had travelled the roads of the north in those days, you might not have noticed them at all. The journey would pass without incident, the road would remain open, and whatever dangers lay beyond the edges of sight would never quite reach you. And yet, somewhere beyond the tree line, someone had been watching. He might have stood in the cold long after others had returned to warmth, listening to the quiet of the land and to what moved within it, ready to step forward if the unseen threat became real, and just as ready to remain hidden if it did not. By morning, there would be no sign he had ever been there. This was their life. Tolkien offers only a glimpse of it, as though even the telling must remain restrained. Strider was one of the Dunedain, the rangers of the north, a remnant of the great people of the west. A remnant. Not a kingdom restored, but something carried forward in another form. These were not wanderers without history, but the heirs of a broken realm, the descendants of kings who no longer had thrones, moving through lands that had forgotten their origin, while still depending upon their presence. Their leaders were no longer crowned kings, but chieftains, a line that began with Aragorn, the son of the last king, who chose not to claim what could no longer be held, but to preserve the people instead. The kingship had not ended, it had changed. And in that change, the meaning of Elendil's oath became clearer than it ever had been. They remained, moving quietly through lands that did not know their names, guarding borders that no longer belonged to them, and holding back dangers that would never become stories. To live this way is to accept a kind of life that offers almost nothing in return. No moments of recognition in which the world pauses to acknowledge what has been done, because the measure of their faithfulness is found in absence rather than presence. The village is not attacked, the road is not taken, the shadow does not spread, and so nothing is said. They carried a kingdom that no longer existed, not in territory, but in memory and identity, preserving what they had been given, even when it could no longer be seen. They remembered the West when others had forgotten it. They kept the language, the customs, and the knowledge of a past that no longer shaped the world around them. And they did so without reinforcement, without recognition, and often without any assurance that what they preserved would ever be restored. This is what it meant to be Dunedain in the north. Not rulers, not even a visible people, but a remnant that refused to disappear. And all the while, the world continues as though none of this were happening. In the Shire, fields were tended and seasons passed with a quiet rhythm, and in Bree, travellers gathered and shared stories that rarely reached beyond the boundaries of their own experience. Tolkien hints at this hidden protection with characteristic restraint. They are the last of the Númenorians in the north, and they go about in secret, guarding the borders of the Shire, guarding in secret. Their faithfulness is measured by what does not happen, by dangers turned aside before they can take form, by lives lived in safety without any knowledge of how close that safety once came to breaking. They are unknown because their work is successful. As generations passed, the burden did not lessen, it intensified. The line grew thinner, not stronger, and fewer remained to carry what had been entrusted to them. The memory of their origin became something that had to be actively preserved, passed from one to another with care, so that it would not be lost entirely to time. And yet the chieftains endured. From father to son, the line continued, not in halls of stone, but in hidden places, in lives shaped by moments and vigilance, in a kingship that existed only as promise. They remained, even as remaining became harder, even as the world forgot them, even as the lands they guarded ceased to remember who guarded them. And still, they did not abandon what had been given. And then, quietly, almost without announcement, something begins to shift. Far in the wild, in a place where memory is still kept and the past is not yet entirely dimmed, a child is raised who does not yet know what he will one day carry. He grows among those who remember what the world has forgotten, learning not only the skills of survival, but the history that gives those skills meaning. He is not yet a king, not yet a ranger in the full sense, not yet the one who will be seen, but he belongs to the line. And that line has not ended. He has been carried through silence, through obscurity, through generations that did not see the outcome of their faithfulness until it could arrive here. They were not the end of a kingdom. They were its continuation, in a form the world no longer recognized. No songs were sung of them. No crowns marked their passing. No great histories recorded their names. And yet, because they remained, not for a moment, not for a single generation, but for as long as it took, the line did not end. Not through strength, not through recognition, but through a quiet faithfulness that endured when everything else had been stripped away. They remained long enough. In the next episode, we will see what becomes of an inheritance that has been carried this far, when at last it is no longer hidden, and the line steps out of the shadows into the light. Until next time, may you have the courage to remain where you are called to remain, the strength to carry what may never be seen, and the quiet assurance that even unseen faithfulness may shape a future you will never live to see.